Sterling. Foden moving nicely in front of him. Phil Foden hits the post. Nearly. Got past one, then two, then plays it into Sterling. That will do nicely. It's headed against the post. England very nearly strike first.
Grealish. Oh, lovely little ding. Ball is put into the back of the net by Raheem Sterling. And England lead the Czech Republic by a goal to nil inside 12 minutes.
Grealish. Shaw across for Sterling. And he's got the run through the middle. It is Thomas Muller, England's nemesis. But not this time. And now Grealish. Grealish in! In comes the captain! 2-0 England. And that is it. It's finally happened. England beat Germany at a major tournament. Sterling's got it through to Kane now, and Harry Kane has found the net. In. And there's Maguire. Shaw. Kane. Ukraine blown away. England on their way. The corner. There's another one. Jordan Henderson has his first goal for England, and England have their fourth of the night. It's going to be Damsgaard. It was dipping. It was delightful. That is some sort of wonder strike from Mikkel Damsgaard. Saka who got round the back. This time Sterling. This really is Raheem's dream. Going around them all, and Sterling down in the box. It is a penalty for England. Schmeichel saves. Kane is there to follow in. Trippier who'll cross, and it's Luke Shaw. It's the start of dreams. Luke Shaw's first ever goal for his country is the fastest ever scored in a European Championship final.
Hello and welcome back to the final episode of What the Falk at the Euros. As you can probably tell by my voice, it's not been the ending that we wanted, but in a sense, and hopefully in hindsight, it was a tournament that we can look back on with a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, and a lot of ultimately good memories as opposed to bad ones. But we are here to react as best as we can to England's defeat on penalties last night to Italy. We've reacted to every game during the tournament, and I haven't really scripted anything or put any questions in place for this one. I prefer to be a bit raw, and we were going to maybe record last night, but I think the rawness of that would have been far too much. But less than 24 hours later, I hope everyone's coping as best as they can and seeing the positive side of what's been a really positive, fun tournament to be part of. And hopefully, by the time you end up listening to this, you'll be ready for Qatar in 2022. Or maybe not. To join us is just the sole soldier today. It's Matt, because everyone else is oddly at work. Terrible bosses, not letting them have the day off. But Matt from Gills In The Blood as always. How are you doing, mate? Are you all right?
Yeah, meh. It's just a big hole, isn't there? Regardless of the result, there's just a massive hole. It's like, that's it. It's done. There's no more Euros. There's no more. And then you had Wimbledon as well. And, you know, people might not like tennis, but it's like for the last 2 weeks or 3, 4, 5 weeks, there's just been constant, like, top level elite sport, free to air, which is absolutely brilliant. And now there's not. And then you couple that with the fact that we got beat on penalties. It's just a big feeling of meh, and just. I mean, I'm coming to terms with it now. it was horrible last night. I cried like a baby. It was me, my wife, and my 3 kids. And they're all girls. So firstly, I think we have to make reference to her game too, that are doing a wonderful job still.
Absolutely.
And I thought I was all right. We all sat there holding hands for the penalty shootouts, and they scored, Kane scored, Pickford saved, Maguire slapped one in, broke the camera, and thought it was our time. Desperately wanted it to be our time, but we know how it ended.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, mate. And I obviously made the cardinal mistake of watching it in Glasgow, and obviously I think we'll get onto it about some of the horrible things that have happened since, which I don't want to touch on too much, but to ignore it would be ignorance to it. And I had to deal with a lot of Scottish, and I'll put it in inverted commas, fans, because I know it's a minority, singing songs about Harry Kane and his alleged disablement, which left me with a really bitter taste in my mouth. And if you were one of those people singing it or not singing it and accepting it and taking it on the chin and laughing about it, think about what you're doing. And same with the people who decided the first port of call would be to abuse someone for the colour of their skin immediately on social media. But we'll get into it. But we'll start off with I suppose the goods, really. It was all a bit mad before the game, wasn't it? Like, in terms of what you've seen on the TV and the nerves for the entire day. 8 o'clock kickoff didn't help anyone's nerves. And then you sit down, you just get ready to watch a final. And then we scored the quickest final goal ever scored, I think, in the Euros. But for some reason, when that went in after the euphoria of it, there was an overriding emotion for me of Kieran Trippierism against Croatia. Like, is that too early? Did that come into your mind when we scored? Like, is it too early?
No, not even a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think I was just so caught up in the moment that we were winning in a European final, in a major international tournament. And it was wonderful to be part of it, whether that was in a fan park, on your sofa, in a pub, in the ground, wherever you was. And we've referenced the 3 Lions song throughout the tournament. And it's not us being arrogant English people. It's us hoping against hope, because it always goes bloody wrong at some point. And again, we're going to have to rehash the version and add in Marcus Rashford or, Jadon Sancho or Bukayo Saka, and it hurts, and it will take a while to get over, because as much as it's been a brilliant tournament and we've pushed barriers again and broken down barriers and improved again, and Gareth Southgate's taken us to levels that we've not been for a long time, it's the fact that we could see that trophy and we could almost touch it, and then it got snatched away, and it hurts, and it's going to take a while to get over, probably until either we go and watch some crappy friendly, whether that's Gills for me or Sunderland for you, and see our mates again, or whether that's waiting for the next England game.
It's funny. I was watching the one night in Turin, the morning before and the night before, and it's that moment with Bobby Robson and Gaza, and Gaza's like crying, and he's saying, like, you've been wonderful throughout the tournament. It's just your first, and obviously, as we now know, it was Gaza's first and last, because England didn't qualify in '94 and Huddle didn't pick him in 1998. And I look back on that, and I mean, I was 4 years old in that, and I don't remember it in the way I would remember it if I was the age I am now, or even a bit younger. But 1996, obviously, I remember, and it's funny. I think what leaves such a big hole with stuff like that is 96 still kind of hurts. Like
96 will always hurt, I think.
Yeah,
like this one will.
Croatia always hurt, and I just repeated again and again and again yesterday. For once, I want it to be us, and there's so much pride in them, so much pride in. They're my favourite England team that I've ever followed, but there is an element of why never us, to kind of flip the Mario Balotelli phrase back around. But I think, looking at the game and stuff like that, the first half, because of the disappointment, maybe he's been forgot about a little bit, but he changed the formation, which I don't think anyone apart from Tom, obviously third tier. Tom kind of guessed, he nailed it.
Called it, yeah, fair play to him.
And why do you think that worked so well in the first half?
Um,
Because I've struggled to pinpoint it, if I'm honest. Why did that work and then suddenly totally not work second half? Because is it down to the Italians' experience? Did they just like know what to do to change what was going against them and shut down Trippier and Shaw? Because they were running riot for 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he didn't change the system, Mancini. He changed the personnel, but he didn't change the system. So it's not like he matched it up and pushed our wings backs back with their wing backs. But yeah, for the first 25, 30 minutes, the left back and the right back were being made to look Sunday league. We constantly had an overload. We constantly looked like we had a spare player, and it was so obvious, even watching it on the telly and then the replay with the camera from above, the bird's eye view, that there was so much space. Walker was so good at being the one that got on the outside or got on the inside to then allow Trippier to go on the overlap, or if Trippier come inside, then Walker was becoming the wing back effectively, and it worked to absolute perfection. And I suppose now with hindsight, you can say, yeah, we did score too early and we probably went into our shell a little bit. And if we scored halfway through the first half, we might have continued to try and press and to go and get the second. And we played into Italy's hands, unfortunately, a little bit. But I can't put my finger on why he changed the system, because he's generally matched up other teams throughout the tournament. Look at the German game. But then it was perfect against the Germans. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Gareth Southgate's got it wrong, because he knows a darn sight more about this group of players than I ever will. And he knows a darn sight more about top-level football than I ever will. But it comes back to Italy are just a bloody good side, aren't they? They're 34 unbeaten now since the last World Cup. 34 unbeaten in international football. That's an incredible record. And I know I sat here on the preview show and said, if you look at the teams they've played, you'd expect most top teams, England, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Holland, to bash them sides. You know, we're looking at like Liechtenstein's, Andorra's, that type of thing. It's very winnable games, but it's still 34 games of elite level football unbeaten. And this is a team that didn't qualify for the last major tournament. So they've completely flipped it on its head. I think, again, and I've said it on previous shows, that we have this over tendency to blame people in England, I feel, and it absolutely drives me up the wall. Sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up and say, they reacted quickly to it. They changed how they played. Mancini tweaked it. Perhaps Southgate didn't react quick enough to counter what they'd countered on us. But this is a bloke who's led a team that's conceded 2 goals in the tournament. We haven't lost a game in 90 minutes or 120 minutes all tournament. We were so close to European glory. And I'm convinced if Marcus Rashford's penalty goes in off the post, we probably would be sitting here today half pissed, hungover, talking about the fact that there's hopefully going to be a parade or whatever. I'm not sure if we'd have been allowed because of COVID still, but we're not. But we took this team that's 34 games unbeaten right to the wire, right to the point where we were 3 12-yard spot kicks away from winning the whole thing, just to make us both feel even more heartbroken.
Yeah, it was always going to be penalties, wasn't it?
It was the 2 best sides in the tournament by distance for me.
Easily.
It was 2 of the best managers in the tournament by distance for me. And they just found a way to get over the line, unfortunately.
I think someone, a neutral fan, said to me beforehand, my worry would be if I was an England fan, that as good as Southgate has been, he's gone up against a really good, experienced manager that is at least his equal with a lot more experience. And I think, because I can't blame anyone on the pitch, really. And the scary but good thing, I said to you earlier, Matt, like, it feels like this is the last opportunity. It feels like I might never get this again, but it's going to feel like that when it feels like you got to being ripped out. It sometimes does feel like that. I said that after the Croatia game, and lo and behold, 3 years later, we're in a final. So, like, you just never know these things. But apart from maybe Ukraine, it never felt like this team, England, really hit the full pelt that they could probably hit. They were good, very good in spells. but I still feel there's another level for the England team to go, and maybe that'll come with experience. I mean, I'm looking through the England team that was there, and it came to me when I seen how old the penalty takers were that missed. And Saka, 19, he's got 4, 5, 6 tournaments left in him if he keeps on going up progression he's at. Rashford, 23, he's got another 4 left in him. And Sancho's just gone for 70, 80 million pounds to Manchester United. He'll probably play for England for the next 10 years. You've got players there that, you know, when that happens, you wouldn't wish it on anyone, at least not a 19-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid. And that's what they are. Like, they're more than a decade younger than me. And that's a big set of bollocks for them to have and take those penalties. But I think it was actually Rashford that said it, or it's on his mural or something, which was frustratingly and disgracefully, obviously.
Defaced, yeah, I've seen that
today.
It's despicable. But
I've seen something where it says, I can't quite remember the exact phrasing, but it's like basically like your downfall, the comeback from it can define you basically. And I'm sure I'm not the only person saying it, but like not just the players that missed the penalty, but the whole squad there that'll be sitting there hurting. Even the oldest ones of Henderson and Kyle Walker, they've got another tournament that they should realistically be going to in less than a year and a half. Mm-hmm. If Croatia defined them enough to get to a final, and I'm not saying we're going to win Qatar, you just never know. It depends who turns up in the tournament. But the nucleus of that squad, or to use a Northeast phrase, Baines. And if they can push an experienced, wily Italian side that have probably been, in hindsight, the best side in the tournament, probably. Like, what's next for England?
We've got a trophy at the end of the day, don't they? So they have to be the best team in the tournament. So.
But it feels, going back maybe, 10 years ago, would that have been Costa Rica? And we got knocked out in the group stages.
At the 2014 World Cup.
2014. So we're knocking on, give or take, 10 years. And you look now at where we're at, and you think how close we thought we were.
I said the other day, didn't I? The 2014 World Cup, when I tweeted or put on Facebook afterwards and said, I've got absolutely no chance of seeing this England team get to an international tournament final. And 7 years later, Gareth Southgate's been in the job 5 years. He got the job by accident. Everyone saw him as a caretaker. When was the last semi-final before he took over? 1996. Mm-hmm. One before that, 1990. He's got us to 2 in 5 years and a final.
If you class he's playing time at England, he's got us to 3 semis.
Technically 4 if you class the Nations League.
Yeah.
People just need to have a little bit of perspective on this whole Gareth Southgate thing straight away last night. And this was an account I saw last night, and I ended up having to come off Twitter quickly because I was going to end up getting in a row last night. Such was my mood. But a Football League account that's got like 37,000 followers. I don't know whether the geezer had a shandy or whatever, but like Gareth Southgate's a PE teacher. And I noticed this morning he's deleted the tweet. Well, if you stand by that opinion, at least have the cojones to leave it up there. Don't do it for clickbait and likes, and then when someone pulls you on it, delete it, because you just make yourself look like a dick.
Stand by it. Like, if that's your thoughts and your opinion,
that's
stand by and back it up.
Don't delete it. But if you delete it, to me, it just looks like you've done it for clickbait, and then you've woken up and thought, oh, I look like a bit of a knob here, so I'm going to delete it and try and cover it up.
I mean, a big thing for me with Southgate is I think a lot of people are going, oh, he did this wrong, he did that wrong, he did the other thing wrong. The one thing I could say with Southgate is I don't think anyone's beyond criticism. And I definitely think he made mistakes. 100%.
But there's ways to do it. That's the trouble.
Of course. The one thing that encourages me about Gareth Southgate is he seems to learn from it.
And I think what you've already mentioned, the next stage of his learning will be developing this and trying to get the balance right. If we do play a back 3 or a back 5, maybe it's not the way to go to get the offensive players. Because if we go back to that first half last night, Harry Kane was dropping deep, linking play, and then we was getting Shaw and Trippier on. We was getting Sterling in behind a little bit. Mount, unfortunately, had a poor game, but that's by the by. He's had a very underwhelming tournament, I think, for a kid of his ability. But second half, Chiellini and Bonucci got a lot closer to Kane, and then we didn't have a focal point. He dropped deep, but he was getting so deep, he was on the halfway line, so he was just effectively giving it back to Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips, and the wing-backs got pressed back, and to the point where we had to change the whole system. So you have to say Mancini won that battle. But like you said, Gareth Southgate tends to learn pretty quickly.
I feel
and
like
I can't keep coming back to it enough. The fact that he just gets what England is all about and what it means as a fan, as a player, as a manager, to represent your country. And I don't want anyone else leading our national team at the moment.
I think the question, I know it's a question that I don't like when I get it with Sunderland and I say, don't have this, I want rid of this manager, because the first question is, well, who else would there be? But I'm going to use it for this one as well. Southgate for me is 100% the right man, 110%. I want him to be in charge of this team for the next 10 years. As long as he continues on this progression, I'm more than happy to do what he's doing. He commands my respect. He commands the country's respect. Some idiots might not. Well, it's unfair to call them idiots, it's their opinion, but some people who don't see that, I don't understand. But it's a small minority. I think most people get it, get him, understand what he's doing. But I think even if you were to get rid of him, tell me who you're going to bring in. You're going to go foreign again? You're going to go get Fabio Capello? You're going to go through that again?
That never worked, did it? Ericsson didn't work. Sven had the golden generation, never got past the quarter final. Fabio Capello had a great group of players. We ended up with Wayne Rooney shouting down a camera after a 0-0 draw with Algeria. Roy Hodgson.
Put Harry Kane on corners. Got
had
sacked.
Harry Kane taking set pieces and free kicks, and lost to Iceland. So if we're sitting here and we're going, and we do it as clubs, don't we? We do that as club fans. Like, I'll go, people go, Gills are shit. But you go, well, go back to the 80s and the early 90s before Paul Scally came in, who takes a lot of batterings, and it was a lot worse then. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to be better now. It doesn't mean I don't want to get in the Championship as a Gills fan. But there has to be some sort of perspective. Gills are 126 years old or 127, and they've spent 5 years outside of the bottom two tiers of the English game. So there's an order. It's the same with England.
I think if you can see your progression, it's like, it's so easy to stay behind it. And that's the one thing I hope is that with England, and I think about when Southgate took over and now, I'll be honest, I was born and grew up a very proud English kid that grew up to be a very proud English man. And I think anyone who follows my personal Twitter account will see that over this last month, how proud I am in previous tournaments. And not in a kind of like flag shagging, like 3 lions on my forehead kind of patriotic way. I'm just very proud of where I'm from and the memories that I've made following the national team during this tournament and before it, and with my dad and my family, and being together with the majority of good people and the minority of idiots I try to ignore. But I think when it comes to Southgate and I look at the team, I was totally not involved with it 5-6 years ago. I was just like, in my mind, I'd actually got more angry that they took Sam Allardyce off us because it wrecked Sunderland. Still wrecking Sunderland that we lost Sam Allardyce. So I was just like, for God's sake, like, could I be any more disconnected? The example being John Terry, tremendous football player. Probably, in my opinion, the best centre-back I've ever seen for England. And I'll have to stand by that. But it was very difficult to support a team I didn't connect with. And I'm not talking about the thing that was obviously abhorrent that people know John Terry's about. He was just a difficult person to connect with for me. And not just him. Lampard, I'm sure Lampard's a lovely guy, but I couldn't connect with it. There was this set of players, I can not only connect with them and bond with them and understand them and see where they've come from, they're also really, really talented. And most importantly, when it comes to Southgate, I can see such a progression. Yeah, it might not be as fast as I want it to be because I want to win the European Championship. I want to win the World Cup. I want to be in the final of the World Cup. Yeah, that would be the perfect progression if we were just in every final. But you know what? Like, I wish I had a gold-plated toilet seat, and I wish my willy was 5 inches longer, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And it might not be the best way to put it, but it's not. But like, I can see a level of progression with this team. Every tournament, every game, I'm going, oh, we're better here. Oh, there's better players coming to the squad here. I went into a major European Championship final against players like Chiellini, Donnarumma, Verratti, players that 5 years ago I would have shit myself playing against. Now I went in going, I'm bloody confident here because we're a good team. We're a good set of lads, and they'll leave it all on the pitch. And you know what? They did. Yeah, I think Italy were probably the better side. If I'm honest, I think they used experience. But mean, Declan Rice, I didn't really rate him that highly before the tournament. What an absolute warrior he was last night.
I think him and Calvin Phillips have been unreal. Calvin Phillips hadn't played Premier League football up until last season.
What a player. I eat all my words.
And also, I think there's a big thing that needs to be made of this, and it's been on social media today, that after running, I think it was 83 kilometres throughout the tournament, only Jorginho moved further. He was the first player. And that's no disrespect. I'm not saying that Harry Kane should have been the first one, or a senior player, a Henderson or a Walker, whoever. But Calvin Phillips had the wherewithal about him, probably hurting as much as we were, to be the first one to sprint to Bukayo Saka at the end and console him. And that says more about him as a man than it does as a player. And that's the type of group that we love following. And I can only echo your thoughts about this is the best group of England players I've ever watched. We spoke earlier in the series, didn't we, on various episodes about it was too cliquey back with that golden generation. It was too much of a club ethos. And that's gone now in terms of it being fragmented in Man United, Liverpool, Man City, whatever. This is just now they turn up and the atmosphere is like a club. There's no, club badge getting in the way. It's just we're here for the three lions, we're here for Gareth Southgate, we're here to do the nation proud. And they keep doing that. But by God, please just win something and it'd be fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, I was desperate for, when Rashford came on yesterday, I was said that ideal way to win it would be for Rashford to score, then just celebrate in front of Boris. that would have been the best way to do it. But on a serious note, when it comes to that England team, I'm just proud of them as people. And I know it's corny, I know it's cheesy, but God, I wish I was proud of them as European champions. Of course I am. I'm devastated. Could have kicked Marcus Rashford up the arse for taking the penalty away they did? Yeah, definitely. Of course I could. But am I proud of the man that he is? He's done much more than that in his life. He's already succeeded more than
even the penalty is an isolated penalty. He takes penalties that way for his club, and 9 times out of 10 he scores.
He's
Bruno
a great
Fernandes does it. Jorginho does it. Jorginho's done it that way last night, and we're saying it's a great save from Pickford. Rashford's done it the same way. It's clipped the post. It's fine lines, isn't it? If it hits the inside of the post and rolls in, chances are we could have gone on and won the shootout. And then he's a hero. Gareth Southgate's a masterstroke. So it's very fine lines. And someone tweeted me last night and said, Matt, I enjoy what you do on Twitter, but stop all these staggered run-ups and stuttering in the run-up and juttering and jumping. Just put your foot through it. I'm not going to sit here and barrack any England player that walks up in a shootout, whether not any player that does it at any level, whether that's my Sunday League team, for Gillingham, for Sunderland, for England. That takes balls of the highest order to do that, let alone in a final in front of a packed Wembley where everybody's willing you to hit the back of the net because you know how close you are to potentially becoming football immortals. That's how big it was last night. So I'm never, ever going to sit there and slag off Saka, Sancho, Rashford, Southgate, Waddle, Pearce. Oh, God, the list's long, isn't it?
Very, very long. I mean, there was an argument that said, and we might as well go on about the penalties itself. People said about senior pros taking them, and I've seen a lot of criticism of Sterling, and I've seen Roy Keane, who I agree with 9 times out of 10, but Southgate chose them. And whether that's true or whether he's doing the thing that Southgate doesn't, taking the heat off anyone, I think it probably is true. I think he probably said, look, boys, I've watched you take penalties, but I love Jordan Henderson more than anything. He missed a penalty against Colombia. He's a senior pro, a good senior pro.
He missed one against Romania 6 weeks ago.
Exactly.
So if he can't stick one away in a friendly, no disrespect to Jordan Henderson, he offers a lot to this England squad. If he's not sticking one away in a friendly, you're not betting your mortgage on him, are you, to pop one away in a European Championship final in front of 90,000 at Wembley?
Tell me someone with bigger bollocks than Stuart Pearce, and he took it and missed it. And anyone can miss a penalty. It's the balls to take one, and it's, you know what Shearer was speaking about last night, and Alan Shearer, apart from that one he missed against Sunderland, which I like to remind him of, he was one of the best penalty takers I've ever seen, and because he always hit the top corner. And even he was saying last night, I think it's different when it drops in the box and someone's made a foul and you pick it up and you put it on the spot and your eyes are focused on that goal. When you're walking from the centre circle,
there's all that delay, isn't there? And it's.
I mean, Saka, Sancho, and Rashford are probably combined the same age as my mum. Do you know what I mean? And my mum's not that old.
It's mental, isn't it?
That I hope in time for them, I really do, and for me, of course, because I want to see them win something. I want to see this group win something. Other than just the plaudits they deserve, I want to see them actually with a medal around their neck and a trophy in their hands. That could stand them in such good stead for a tremendous career. And with Southgate in charge of them, you've just got to hope that he goes, hey, look, I was there when I was wearing a Pizza Hut bag over my head and eye holes in when it was okay to get like the media to hammer you. And that took a lot of stuff. The whole team is so supportive and so you can just see they're knitted together. They like playing for England and I like watching them for England. I mean, I can't remember the last time I told you, I texted my mate this morning first thing and said, here, are we joining this England travel club permanently or what? Like, let's get behind them because you know what? With Sunderland, I'll always love Sunderland, but it's been a hard slog for a long time. And I feel a bit disconnected from a lot of the players that are at Sunderland, if I'm honest with you. And I think I'm not probably the only one. And that'll change. That'll flip round once we get promoted, which we will eventually. I'll love them and they'll be the best thing since sliced bread. But I'm having an England moment that I had 5 to 7 years ago with Sunderland. And with England, I've always loved England. I'll always follow England. I desperately wish I was Brazilian, of course. But unfortunately, I'm not. I'm English. There's only one team I've got. But I'm enjoying...
I'd be Italian for the summer. I don't mind it.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, I'd be Italian for the summer. Yeah. To be fair, I mean, I've seen a lot of people criticizing the dark arts of the Italians. Yeah, I think it's fine. No issues with that.
I've got no issue with the one on Saka. If that's Harry Maguire doing that to, I don't know, Chiesa or someone, we're saying it's a good tactical foul. The one on Grealish, though, I think is a red card. That's a disgraceful challenge.
It's 100% a red card.
And he's over the top of the ball. He's not two-footed. I don't get that, but he's endangering another player. And whether I agree with the rule or not, the rule states if you endanger another player, it's a red card. And he's gone over the top of the ball with his studs on display. He's got both legs at the end of the day. He bounced off one knee and then managed to rake down the other thigh. But we're probably just sound like bitter Englishmen who are moaning and trying to find an excuse. That's not the reason we lost.
No, I think that was a red. I don't, and I think it was probably 7 minutes from the end. I don't think it really would have made a difference. Italy defending the way they can, yeah, absolutely. And he missed the penalty anyway, but in isolation, yeah, definitely a red card. I don't know whether Jorginho meant it, but that's besides the point.
Regardless if it's deliberate, but he's over the top of the ball and he could have caused serious injury. So
yeah. I wanted to question you. We've talked about the penalties a lot, and I think that's probably because that's at the forefront of our mind, and that's ultimately what decided the game. But there's a lot of discussion around it. Saka taking the penalty. A few people said if you were a senior, well, Roy Keane said it. If you were a senior member of the team, you would say you're not taking it. I'm taking it.
I'm telling you.
Is that feasible? Could you do that?
I don't know. It's difficult unless you're there and in amongst it. I'm not really sure. I know he said Grealish or Sterling should take one, but if it's under instruction from the manager, you're not going to go against the manager that's got you to the final, are you? And Grealish has tweeted today in response to that and said, I asked to take one. So Grealish was adamant that he wants one. And I believe him. I think Jack Grealish is the type of character that thrives on that type of environment and that type of pressure. Whether it was enough to overrule someone, are you really going to go against what team instructions in the middle of the most important penalty shootout since?
Maybe he thought he was going to be too confident. Yeah, you never know. Maybe he thought, well, Grealish is that confident. Maybe he'll try like one of those run-ups and might do something daft and blah blah blah. You never really know what.
That's what I said. Unless he sees them every day. He's seen them every day for the best part of 2 months. We talk about them twice a week.
Apparently, it was Southgate had Pickford down as the 6th. Apparently, you can see him picking the players, and Pickford would usually be the 6th. Now, for me,
he took one in the Nations League, didn't he?
He takes a good penalty from what I remember. Yeah, I did want to chat about Pickford. I'm
player of the tournament for me, for England.
Yeah, me too.
Because just last night, he just swayed over Raheem Sterling for me. He was absolutely phenomenal last night.
Huge fan of Jordan Pickford for very obvious reasons, but I will hold a candle to Jordan Pickford till the day I die. I love him. I think he's great. I love that. I think he was talking to the ref, but I love the relaxation before the Jorginho penalty. He was never really missed a penalty, and he's just like talking to the ref, like, yeah, no problem. He always looked like he was going to save that, and it's weird how much confidence I had in it. And the flip side, I always felt like, because stories happen in football, that Rashford might be the one that might miss. And it's unfortunate because stories sometimes exist in football like that. And I've got to be honest, I've got a lot more faith in England saving penalties with Pickford there than I have us scoring them because of our history. But I just think Pickford throughout the tournament, people will listen to this and go, Sunderland podcast, of course he's going to say that. So let's ask a Gillingham fan. Jordan Pickford is undoubtedly the best English goalkeeper around and should be number one for years to come, right?
Yeah, I don't think you have to be watching the Premier League every week or twice a week to understand just how good he's been in this tournament. I know he's made a few errors for Everton over the last 18 months since the World Cup. But when he pulls on an England shirt, he's probably had 45 below par minutes in the whole tournament. And that's probably been harsh. He had the final 15 minutes against Ukraine, he got a bit flappy and a little bit, I don't know whether he got overconfident because we were winning the game. And then it just sort of filtered into the Germany game as well. I think it was where he lobbed it to Werner, didn't he, in the first 10 minutes? Oh, no, sorry, the Denmark game.
Denmark game, yeah.
That's right. Into the Denmark game. German game, he was absolutely spot on. But aside from that, he's made some phenomenal stops. Again, it's very English, isn't it, that we've got a keeper that saved 2 penalties in a shootout in a final and we still managed to mess it up. But Jordan Pickford can only walk away with that tournament with his head held incredibly high because categorically England's number one at the moment. It'll take a catastrophic loss of form for him to lose that shirt in the next 6 months, 12 months.
Absolutely agree. I think it's hard to sum up, and you very fairly came on, and I probably, to be fair to myself, came on and had to speak about something which is, people might think it sounds dramatic, but this is it's like that breakup you have when you're not really expecting the breakup and you've had a brilliant relationship, and we've all been there, and then one day the other person goes, don't want to be with you anymore, actually. And there's just that giant hole. So I think to be able to come on and speak about it is a testament to me, testament to you, but fair enough. And to be fair, Jack wanted to come on as well, but obviously he is working. But before we go, it's been a really good run. I've really enjoyed these Euros. I've really enjoyed being together. Like, just the podcast alone, take out everything else. Like, being in the games has been really good fun. But I don't know if you have this off kilter, but goal of the tournament for you.
Overall, or from an England perspective?
Overall.
Cool.
Patrick Schick versus Scotland. Sorry, Scotland fans.
Yes, because it's that far out, but probably no, because David Marshall's basically in the north of England when he makes contact. The Chiesa one against Spain in the semis, decent.
Tremendous.
Whips it far corner. I'm trying to think of the one against us, Damsgaard. That's a hell of a hit. Again, it's that over tendency to try and blame people from our point of view, but it's a bloody good free kick. If Ronaldo does that, Sky Sports going absolutely mental. Jim White's probably tossing himself off into oblivion, bless him. But
Christensen against
oh yes, against the Russians
in
the final group game, that side foot that generated so much power.
Screamer.
To give it a Gillingham link, and if there are Gillingham fans listening, the only person I've ever seen hit a ball like that on a consistent basis live, and that's in any level of football, was Robert Taylor for Gillingham when he was there for 18 months. To get that much power through laces or just a side foot and an instep is unreal, and to control it in that magnitude of game was phenomenal from Andreas Christensen, especially when you chuck in the fact that he's a centre back. Yeah, he's not even a striker or forward thinking player.
Now we have to go back to Gillingham and Sunderland, and it's just like, oh God, I've got to watch players that can't control the ball again. Fantastic.
Yeah, back to moaning when it bobbles on the touchline, and oh God,
here we go.
I'll probably go. There's probably one we've missed, isn't there? There's probably an absolute belter that we've absolutely really missed. But the one that sticks out for me in recent games is, and because we've watched so much football, is Chiesa, because it was a semi-final. It's a really good. He had a really good tournament. Trying to think of from an England point of view, I don't think we scored any screamers, did we? There's some really, really good team goals. I think was how we scored our goals this year, wasn't there? If you go back. The Phillips run again. Let's go through them all just to cheer ourselves up. The Phillips run is brave and belies the lack of experience he has at that level. That's his first tournament game. We've got to remember that, and to show that energy and that prowess and that nerve to then play the pass at that weight to get Sterling in is brilliant. Jack Grealish, he had his moments, probably not enough of them from his own point of view, but that's a brilliant cross to stand up for Sterling in the Czech win. The 2 goals are really good against the Germans, aren't they? Break on them at pace. We've got loads of options. We've got overlaps. We've got players in the box. Luke Shaw really came to the fore in that game, and you started thinking, hang about, we've got potentially a world-class left back here that probably wasn't being talked about at the start of the tournament.
He's up there for player of the tournament for England as well.
I think he's got to be in there. He's in my
team of the tournament.
I think he's in my top three. He came third for me in terms of top three for England. Mine were Pickford, Sterling, and Shaw.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think there was a few that were probably, if you take out goals and assists, were probably on that similar level with Luke Shaw. But the fact that he's then contributed 3 assists and a goal as well in a final.
Kyle
Walker.
Maguire. Great tournament for Maguire. Wish he'd take penalties more. Never thought I'd say that, but I wish he'd take. I would like him to take our penalties all the time now, because the way he smashed the camera.
Broke the camera, didn't he? Completely broke the camera.
So much aggression came at me when that went in. I think the majority of people, the Glasgow fans, all knew at that point maybe not to rile me, because I probably looked like I was a lot tougher than I was. The way I screamed,
That was the point where we all just believed that it might just happen. But then I did very quickly turn around to my wife and kids and say, means nothing unless Rashford scores.
Yeah.
It's like in tennis, isn't it? If you break a player's serve, but then if you get broken the next game, it means bugger all. Same in darts. And unfortunately, it quickly went the other way. But if we're summing it up as a whole tournament for England, it's been brilliant. Like you said, progress is a key word. The fact that we could, if you sat here now and said everyone's fit for Qatar, pick that squad. Who are you taking out that's not available? Probably Trent.
Yeah.
I think you could comfortably take that squad to Qatar and be very, very competitive again. And that's
the thing. 2 oldest players in the squad, even if we're talking about the next Euros and take Qatar out of the equation, Kyle Walker.
Everyone else will be there. You'd say the only 2 that might not make the next Euros in 4 years are Walker and Henderson. They'll both be 35. But such is fitness this time in the modern game that they might still be about. They might not be first choice, and we'll have more coming through by then as well in 4 years. That's what you've got to remember.
You'll also have
Bellingham will be 21, 22. That's frightening.
You've got a much more experienced Champions League playing Bellingham unless things go wrong. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold will come back in, who will be about 24 at the time. Reece James will be about 23, 24. And Trippier's only going to be early, mid-30s? 31, 32?
32, yeah, I think so.
So we're pretty stocked. And I think it would be very difficult for that team to come back from the semi-final defeat and a penalty defeat in the final and not want to absolutely go full ham.
Well,
and
if we look at Southgate's progress, we've gone 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, haven't we? If you go World Cup, Nations League, European Championships, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to win the World Cup, but because unfortunately you have to factor in the type like the Colombias and the Argentinas and the Brazils all of a sudden. But it's certainly doable, isn't it? And I think that's probably the biggest thing to come out of Gareth Southgate's reign so far is that we genuinely believe, we don't get arrogant because of 3 Lions, but we genuinely believe that we can go to the business end of these competitions. It doesn't mean we're going to win them all, but we're disappointed because we lost on penalties in the final. I think if we got to a final 5, 6, 7 years ago, we'd have gone, who cares? And I almost said that on the preview show, didn't I? That it almost was like it was a bonus, but it still means everything. But
yeah,
we're in good hands in terms of players and coaching staff as well. And I think you need to give credit to the likes of Steve Hollands and Chris Powell as well and the fitness teams there, because they've been absolutely phenomenal. And Gareth Southgate spoke really highly of Steve Hollands today in his press conference. It's going to hurt for a long time, I think, to sum up. But once the dust settles and we get back to watching Gills and Sunderland, we realise how blessed we were this summer to watch very, very good footballers play very, very good games.
That's a guarantee. Before we go, Donnarumma won Player of the Tournament. No disrespect to him. Don't even think he was the best Italian player.
I think that's come because he saved penalties. No, I think there was much better Italian. I think
Chiellini for me.
Chiellini was class, even though he missed a game. Bonucci, the lad who missed the final, Spinazzola. Spinazzola, that was it.
That's
the pasta. That's what we call him.
Yeah.
and in fairness to Emerson, he was very good second half after taking an absolute belting in the first half from Trippier and Walker. He recovered really well, and that says all you need to know about the Italian mentality, ability, management.
Who would you give the Player of the Tournament to? If it was a Gills In The Blood award? There's been a few real good ones.
It has, and you look at the team of the tournament as well. There's some good players that you think Ronaldo was bloody good, and he only played 4 games. He contributed 6 goal contributions. So Lukaku was brilliant for Belgium before they got knocked out. There was Schick. You'd have never mentioned Schick to be in contention for player of the tournament, top scorer before it had started. It's probably got to be an Italian though, hasn't it? But
It's got to be. Yeah.
Too many of them were very good, which pisses me off.
Chiellini for me. Just because...
Jorginho was spot on throughout the tournament.
Yeah. The one that I earmarked before the tournament as their best player was probably the one that didn't live up to the hype, and still a great tournament for variety. But he was
probably wasn't quite fit, was he?
Just overshadowed by other players in his team. For me, Chiellini. I don't hold any grievances towards him. I know some people don't like his antics. I'm a big Pepe fan, so I'm not going to pot kettle black.
Yeah, like we said already, the one on the halfway line, any centre half worth their weight in gold's doing it, aren't they? To stop the geezer's got to run on you. He's not catching Saka. He knows that, so he's got 2 options. He lets him run in on goal, or he drags him down by his neck, and he did the second one, and that's why he's won so much.
Just take the yellow. It's fine. I'm going to go Chiellini, player of the tournament. Yeah, definitely Chiellini for me.
Fair enough. I don't think too many can argue.
And England, Pickford. Yeah, as we've discussed.
Yeah, just Pickford for me after last night was very, very good.
I'm really sad to say it's like the last Euro 2020 podcast. I'm actually really sad about it. Like, I didn't think I'd enjoy not just the tournament this much because I'm English. I expect us to go out a little bit sooner than this just because we're English. But I've been to 4 of the games. 1 Croatia, Czech Republic, 1 Scotland against Croatia, and obviously the Germany and Denmark game. Not just because I've been to the games, I've had time in my life past 7 weeks after a horrendous 17, 18 month for all of us, and it's been brilliant. And I hope that, if anything, as a nation, the good ones among us, and you know who you are, we stay together, we stay bonded, we laugh in the face of defeat. And as I said before, I think the Rashford mule says, let your comeback define you, not your setback. As cheesy as it may sound and as Instagrammable, quotish as it may sound, there's a lot of years left in me yet, hopefully. A lot of years left in that team. And obviously, hopefully a lot of years left in you as well, Matt. So there's still a lot of hope. And if without hope in football, there's no real point. Because in general...
We'll keep singing 3 lines. We still believe because we have no choice.
I'll be still singing World in Motion, to be fair, but that's just...
Well, that as well.
And Vindaloo, of course. Got to be all of them on it. But Matt, I've really appreciated you coming on. Scott coming on during the earlier stages. Gabe coming on. Jacob coming on. Jack, of course, who's been with us. Ian, who's been with us. Connor, who's been with us. Tom, who's been with us. And I'm sure I've probably missed someone. Chloe. Andrew from Zoraya. Got it wrong.
Ukraine.
Yes. Please, Andrew, if you're listening, do forgive me. I'm horrendous at being Ukrainian. And obviously, Tom as well, who was the most in-depth German/English fan in the world ever. Yeah. Everyone who's been on has been brilliant. It's been so much fun. It's made me kind of remember why I like football so much after I openly fell out of love with it a little bit last year with no fans in my football team doing a massive, massive Sunderland. However, we have to go back to that now. But when it comes to England, I just hope that it continues to be that kind of wave of positivity that we felt during the late 90s after Euro 96. And hopefully this time we do another tournament, we'll be back sweating our asses off in Qatar. Hopefully we'll lay it together or watching with a nice British summer on the TV and hopefully we'd go just that one step further. Do subscribe if you've enjoyed it. Obviously, there'll be a lot more content coming that's not going to be Euros based. And who knows, I might keep the England stuff up because I've enjoyed it. But thanks to everyone for listening. Mate.
I'll get involved if you continue to do it because I think it's been bloody good fun. Like I was saying, it's nice to talk to people on the same team. Like we said right at the start when we started doing this, didn't we, in the preview show? Because, you know, we can come on and we talk about Sunderland playing Gills and club allegiances, but it's been nice to all be on the same side and yeah, we'll get over it.
We always do, mate. Matt, thanks very much.
Pleasure as always, mate.
You got to hold